So this is the screen where most of the turning it into a revenue agreement that happened on the item. So each item would be considered a performance obligation, and then you would have revenue rules, and this is a requirement. So every item will have a revenue rule, which basically says over what time period is it at a default amortized over, either straight line or a milestone or percent complete. If it's straight line, over what time period. If it's and you can even kind of split up an item to have multiple revenue rules. So you can kind of split it out certain percentage wise between different types of revenue recognition. So every item would have a revenue rule. And if it's not being fair value allocated, you wouldn't need to add fair values. But if you are doing fair value allocation, you would have to say, what is my range of selling price for that particular item? So when the agreement comes in, you would take that total value for whatever you say the contract is, and then allocate it amongst each item or performance obligation on that revenue agreement based on each item's relative selling price. So it's a percentage. You would basically take each fair value for each item and total it and say, here's the percent of each item. The total adds to 100, and you use those percentages to allocate the total contract value to each performance obligation. So that's how you would turn it into a revenue agreement. At this point, you've got one or many invoices combined to create a revenue agreement. You split that out based on the relative selling price of each item, and then those values that were allocated to each item will then be amortized over a certain period of time based on the revenue rules for that item.